And then rather than trying to automate things that don't necessarily need to be automated, we zeroed in on the tasks that took up the most time, the most operational intensity, and then being able to significantly drop that level, thus being able to take on more clients. All right, so I'm Matthew Johnson. I'm otherwise known as the Upwork guy. So as my name rightfully dictates, I do Upwork lead generation for B2B companies and marketing agencies. So I've been working with, well, Ryan since the beginning, but at a later date, Ops Kings on a whole. So that's as well as so Ryan and Tony, a bit of an indomitable duo. But in the beginning, I worked with Ryan and he basically built out the system that my entire agency is built on, which is an automation specifically for Upwork. And using it, I've been able to differentiate myself from any competitor that, would have been out there. So never really had to worry about my service being commoditized just because nobody else, had what I had and was able to deliver to the same extent. So pretty much since the beginning, Ryan's been there. But as time went on, he got so much busier with just way more clients. It wasn't just me anymore. I wasn't the favorite anymore. So he had like
You'll
multiple
always be
other
the favorite.
clients.
You're definitely the favorite, man. Yeah. Everybody else watching this, you're like, yeah. Anyways, keep going. Okay, so what's interesting about you, right, is like a lot of people out there would be looking at people on Twitter or YouTube or wherever and going, oh, well, there's Ops Kings, but there's also this other agency, and there's also, and they all kind of do the same stuff. They all kind of do like operations or automation or like one or both. But you're really unique because you've actually hired us and two others in the interim in that period when I got really busy before we had time to hire people. So don't mention their names. I think that's like we mentioned before. I think that's just it's not classy, right? So but I would love for you to share what some of the things were that we did that was different from what they did, and what your experience was like.
Right. So as a caveat, I've met Ryan in person as well. So we spoke at length after this fact. But what I didn't understand is operations isn't as black and white as people make it out to be. It's not like this one size fits all thing where somebody just, kind of jumps in, gives you a system that might have worked for many of their other clients and under the assumption that, hey, we'll fulfill it in the same way. So it's in the same breath as not every business is the same, right? So it's hard to operationalize you can automate, tasks that are universal to businesses, like maybe lead generation, but someone's service delivery is going to have differences than others, especially in my case, where I've never seen anybody do what I've done or, what Ryan and I have done together. So that's the first thing that I realized after working with others and then reverting to Ops Kings, right? So their approach is unique in the sense that they aren't trying to operationalize an agency broadly. They're trying to operationalize agencies specifically or companies specifically. So they aren't trying to fit you into a mold that they may have created themselves. It's more along the lines of they're trying to make a mold for you and make that mold fit your business itself. So that's the entire, without me going on a bit of a rant here, that's the entire philosophy of the business. So it starts off with a company brain. So figuring out, and I discovered more about my business as well, just from doing that company brain. So I was able to understand where the gaps are in the business that I didn't even know. And then being able to see it from more of a bird's eye view. So I know everything that's going on. And then rather than trying to automate things that don't necessarily need to be automated, we zeroed in on the tasks that took up the most time, the most operational intensity, and then being able to significantly drop that level, thus being able to take on more clients. So I think that's, without going too much into it, that's the best way that I can describe what's being done. You aren't being fit into something or forced to fit into something that might not be for you. Your entire process is being curated as time goes on. So the more time that you actually spend with Ryan and Tony, the more your own unique operational system is being crafted.
I think that is true because we don't go in and build tech and then say, let's install this tech into like 20 different businesses. We go in and be like, and this interesting, everybody always asks us like from day one, like, what can we automate? Like, no. Forget about that. Tell me about like, what are you trying to accomplish here? Do you do a quality step here? Because a lot of people do a quality step here in this process like this, right? I think that's very, really well said. I will say my ego was really happy when I think you said another agency that will not be named couldn't figure out code that I wrote that like I thought was pretty basic actually. I even sent you this code before we had a working relationship. I sent you this code. I was like, hey, just here's a Loom video, like copy this. Because I assumed that like it was so like the Loom was so simple that anybody could copy it. But anyways, that's whatever. It's cool. Yeah, that was that was really eloquent. Like genuinely, it was really good. I feel like you took all the questions I could possibly ask you. You just like answered them all anyway. So I will say
a
you
lot
haven't
of it
just worked
was
with Tony and me. Like it's actually there's other like most of your time was spent with Steven and Stepan actually like as like the dev, and then Tony and me are in the background being like do this, right? Insert here, right? And then come on from time to time with the bigger strategy things. So you actually have like it's not just like me and Tony are doing everything in the entire. We're not that good. We do have help as well now. So yeah.
No, it was
Is it
it's awesome.
yeah? Is there anything else
Anyway,
that's surprised you about working with us, or in terms of your? Actually, here's a question. I mean, what made you reach back out to us again after you'd had this system that was, because you grew your business quite a lot, right? And kind of you implement stuff, and then you decided like again, no, we want to go to another level. So what was it? Was there a specific problem that you had grown into? Was there something about our approach that struck your interest again? Like what was it about? Yeah, what was it about your
I
business
think
that made
it's
you decide to actually do something about it?
I think it's more me as a person rather than the business itself. So I'm of the firm belief that prevention is better than cure. So that's a pretty popular saying in my country. So rather than trying to wait until everything breaks, which is what people will tell you, like just wait until everything breaks operationally and then start to worry about operations. I never liked that approach because it works under the premise that I'll have to be in constant turmoil. So I'm gonna get 20 clients and then my operations break. I'm stressed. I have to wait, you know, I might churn quite a few clients, stuff like that, until finally I fix everything. And then what? I have an ego boost that I could fix everything. And then, a couple months down the line, it's the same issue again. I just wasn't of that belief. So that's that's part of it. Like I was saying to myself, well, and I just like you guys as well. Like I think that's a big part. That's why I say it's kind of me as a person. So I've spoken with you at length multiple times. And then Tony, funnily enough, before Tony was in CA, I spoke with him on Twitter. Like I
Oh,
remember
really?
him just reaching out to me.
Right.
Yeah, I remember him just reaching out to me, and I think he asked me about CA a couple of times. He pointed me in the direction of someone I was interested in meeting. I ended up connecting with that guy, working together, stuff like that. So I knew Tony before. Um, but I think that the straw that broke the camel's back, not in a negative but a positive way, was that like meetup you guys did in Tampa.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I'm actually wearing the shirt like right
Oh,
now.
nice.
So I was like, I'll put on the
Yeah,
shirt, even though I'm the
yeah,
Upwork guy and I'm have a
yeah,
Holyville
yeah.
shirt. I was
Well,
like,
you
I'll
do
put on
have
the shirt.
you do have like this. Well, the whole approach is like outreach, right? Versus just
Yeah,
like it's just, there are different strategies for things. Anyway, for context, I will drop the link below. We met up in Tampa with a bunch of people, had a meetup, and we were chat we like invited a bunch of clients, and we were chatting about stuff and how business was going. Anyway, tell us more about that because
yeah,
I mean I was there. I know all
yeah.
like I know how it went, right?
Yeah.
What was it
So
about that meetup that was the straw that unbroke the whatever that relieved the
the
camel's
metaphorical
wing?
camel, yeah.
The metaphor does not work here. Anyways, metaphors are not our
No.
thing here.
All right, cut that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so actually it was so when we got to the Tampa event, I think it was day one or yeah, it was day one when we had like the conference where everybody met up and we had like these breakout sessions. I think it was right before that when we started to talk about um, how operationalizing a system works or how you approach it, right? So
Mhm.
you started to talk to me about distribution lines. I got a lesson in manufacturing, all of that type of thing. And I was like, well, I didn't think of it like that before. So when I really got to thinking and listening to what you were saying and internalizing it, I was like, well, that's true. Why would we automate stuff preemptively rather than stuff that we actually need? Because then that just takes up make credits, so that's more money. And then we might just never use the automation, which I'd
Yeah.
like to say, like,
Which
yeah,
like
it's just
there's a lot of automations out there that people just they pay somebody to make it or they make it themselves, and then it's just like, oh, this
it's
wasn't the
never
bottleneck. This
used.
was never the thing,
Yeah.
right? That was necessary.
I've and I've had those cases as well, right? What I like about the team, and you mentioned it, I'm not sure if it's going to be in the thing, but I spend a lot of the time with Steven, which is an employee of
Yeah.
Upskins.
Yeah.
And that's something that we always bring up in these calls is, are you using this automation?
Yeah.
Like that he always asks that. Is this, even if it's built by Upskins, he's like, is this being used? And it's like, well, if it's not being used, then okay, yeah, it's fine. We'll get rid of it. But if it is, then we'll continue with it. So it's never a case. It's never ego either. It's never, oh, I built this automation, so it must be good. So we're not removing it. Or
Right.
I
Or
guess it's
like you're
supposed to
wrong.
stay.
Like you should like use it like the way we
Yeah.
decided that you should. No. Yeah, we make them
Yeah.
do that. We're
Yeah.
like we go through and audit everything. We're like if it's not being used, like flag it because we need to do something. At least we need to know so that we can normally it's a case of like we haven't picked the right bottleneck. Like we thought we have, but we haven't. Really, it's mostly
Mhm.
about like I think it's about usability, right? Making sure that
Yeah.
data is arranged in the right way. We always want to audit and make sure like sometimes it's like, oh, that I didn't know how to, or like because the name was not exactly like the most intuitive name for how this button should be called or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
keep going.
definitely.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's part of the thing that I think really stood out. And then of course going back to just speaking to you at the event, um, very high level conversations that I just didn't know that I should have been exposed to as well at the time. Because as I said, I'm more of a guy that wants to take preemptive action rather than um, waiting until something breaks and then I'm like, Ryan, please save me. I don't really like that. So rather than trying to trigger feature brain through some of the through some of the operationalization, yeah, that's the word. Before, so all of these stuff I had in my operations, I just wasn't using it. And then I felt bad that I wasn't using it. Like I always
Yeah.
try to force myself to
Yeah.
use these things, even though like deep down I know that it wasn't necessarily needed. So
Yeah, you had this whole template
that's
that was built
yeah.
out, and I think it was like you and Dylan at the event were like describing this. I was like, are you like you have the thing. It's like it's technology, but just because you have like a thing that someone, it's like apps on your phone, right? I
Yeah.
think is probably a great analogy. Like
Yeah.
there's apps that you have on your
That's
phone
what you said.
that I don't have on my phone, not because they're bad apps, because like they're not good apps for you, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is figure out what your natural, like what you actually need to be doing, what your business actually does, the systems that are there. We suggest like, hey, you should probably have like a quality check here, and like it works really well to like monitor this KPI. This is probably the KPI that you need to monitor right now, based on the scale of the system or whatever else. But like, really, if people ask for automations that they don't need, we'll tell them like, no, like we're not, like it just doesn't, because we want we want the result, right? We don't want the. I mean, here's the thing too, is like I was thinking about this the other day. Uh, Building an automation to save like save time. Like imagine having a thing that would like save your employee time, right? And like if you're not planning on scaling your business, it doesn't make sense, because you're not going to cut your employees' salary by 10% if you like save. Like you're going to keep the same salary and you're going to keep the employee on, and so it doesn't actually make sense to have, like, unless you're scaling the business or saving the founder time, which means the founder can spend more time sales and marketing, which then scales the business. Um, or the operationalizing helps the clients get better results, which scales the
Mhm.
business, right?
Right.
Through referrals and retention and all these kind of wonderful things. Like yeah, truly, there's so many things that are automated by people that know how to build tech. They just don't know how to ask questions from business
Yeah.
owners. They don't know how to identify. Anyways, yeah. Uh, I interrupted your train of thought. So where else were you going?
Nah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. So, as I was saying, like a lot of there are good and bad things. So I've worked with a couple other agencies, and that was more of the recurrent theme I was really seeing. It's like I would tell them that I want this automation, but I'm not an automations guy and I'm not an operations guy at heart. So really, I don't know what I need and what I don't need, right? If that makes sense. So it would just be me telling them what I'd want. I might get like maybe two or three automations, and then when I actually get them, either I'm just not satisfied or I just don't need them. It's like I never turned them on in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the major things that I saw that was a bit different. And I mean, what you guys do works as well, which is a you'd be surprised, right? It's a huge difference.
What do you
Um,
mean by it works? I think I know what you mean, but nobody else does.
yeah,
So what do you mean?
yeah. So you're actually achieving something with the automation is essentially what I'm alluding to. So it especially in operations is a very and automation especially is a very interesting service because of how sticky it is and because not everyone has the same level of expertise. So Ryan built my Upwork automation in the beginning. So he knows everything about automation. He's able to fix anything that breaks if something were to break, and is pretty much able to add on things as time goes by as well, because it's his baby, right? If you try to bring someone onto that automation that doesn't have the same level of expertise, then it will surely, break, or things will be changed in a way that just makes it that much more difficult for you to use it. So it won't work the same. So that's one of the reasons why I came back as well. It's just better to go back to the source.
Mm-hmm.
So your entire team was trained to some extent by you. They already had some level of expertise, but for automations that you trademarked, you pretty much trained them on it. So in the event that anything does come up, they're able to pretty much be a second you. So even
Actually,
if something,
they're actually just good, honestly. Like it's not
yeah,
that like it's not that I spend a lot of time walking them through your system specifically. They're actually just good. I think that's honestly like
which
it.
helps.
it's there's been stuff that I've debugged that I haven't written at all. Like that you just go like I could tell you stories, man, about like, but actually I think our team is just they're just legitimately good. Like they're good at what they do.
I think I've only met two guys, which is Ralph and Steven. And yeah, it's just
And they're both geniuses.
Yeah, both of them are pretty good. Normally you feel like if somebody were to hand you over to one of their employees, normally you'd feel, I don't know what the word for that is, but maybe you feel like you're being left out or you're not as important. But when those employees are at a similar skill level and they actually care, right? So they care about what it is that's going on. I was talking with Steven the other day and we were just on the call for a bit extra over time and we were just talking about the agency in general. He had a hard stop, but he went a little over just to talk to me more about it so he could bring more ideas, talk it over with Tony as well. Like those types of things reflect really well on the agency. So I've never really felt that way. I've never really felt like, oh yeah, Ryan ditched me or Tony ditched me. Like no, it's never been that way. And since they're basically they're at the same proficiency, if not like a tad low, it's never been an issue of quality either. So I'm pretty impressed with the team overall. You guys have built like a good team in like a short amount of time. I remember when you started hiring and you got like 7 people in a little over a month or two, which is crazy.
Yeah, the
But yeah,
brand the
overall,
brand helps because people see like, oh, I want to be able to like I want to have the people watch these videos and they're like, wait, I
yeah,
want to have that same kind of relationship with a client. Like we tell people like we have this role where like you're actually going to be building something for real businesses, and they watch the
yeah,
testimonials and they're like, what, like that? Like because they they want, and because it's more than just tech, right? If you can, I think truly, if you can
yeah,
ask the right questions on the company brain process, like you can build tech that actually like moves a business forward and helps them grow
yeah,
in revenue. Anything else
yeah.
you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, so I'd definitely highly recommend Tony and Ryan. So and they didn't prompt me to say anything like this either. So don't get it twisted. I know it sounds like I'm a bit too articulate in some
Yeah,
of
you have to
these
say something
answers.
mean. You got to say something mean about us too.
Yeah, I have to
Leave a
shit on
really
them. What
nasty
kind of
comment
curse?
on
Sorry.
Twitter.
I'm gonna leave a worded review on G2.
Exactly,
But
like a.
no, it's been awesome working just based on our interaction. You can see that there's like no friction between us. It's been like this since the beginning. It's been a year now, actually. So we joined CA in about January. So it's
You
been a
did.
year now since
I
we've known each
no, because
other.
we met in this
Yeah.
coaching program. It's been like I think it was like April or May, April,
Nah, it wasn't
March.
April, bro. It was a bit earlier than that.
Was it?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I'd have
All
to
right,
check.
almost
But yeah,
almost a year. Almost a year.
yeah, it's been
Yeah.
almost a year now. So I've known Ryan for that long and I've been working with him in some capacity since that time, since I've met him. And the same for Tony, ever since I met him, it has just been a genuinely good guy. And meeting them in Tampa really solidified that fact as well. So I'd highly recommend them to anyone. There's definitely something that you're able to take away. Even if you just have a consultation with them, even if it's just a company brain being built, I guarantee you that you're already in their clutches from that's done. Because you're never going to get something similar. I haven't seen anything similar, at least. So definitely would highly recommend.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you, sir. By the way, we're gonna do like a master like an ops mastermind thing in maybe Croatia this summer. So
Ooh,
you're definitely invited to that. We're gonna see. Yeah.
hey.
Like I could maybe, yeah,
I'm
some
gonna
kind
have to
of
get my
like
visa, bro.
just crazy shit. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
appreciate
100%.
you, sir.